Welcome back to Rocket Talk. It is now time for episode 30. Hey, guys, we made it to 30 official episodes.
Woo!
I'm still alive?
I know, hard to believe. Actually, and Connor is back, too. You know, Connor was gone last week. We had Michael Kripe on from The Escapist. Big thanks again to Michael for joining us. Always good to have him on. You know, be sure to check out his things on The Escapist and his social media. But it's nice. We finally have news, and a lot of it.
I forgot what that was like.
I know. We had all these times where it was just scrambling for news, and we found like a thing or two.
It was so dark.
Now we have so much stuff. So, Xbox. They beat PlayStation to it. We know what is going on with the next-gen Xbox when it's coming out, how much it's going to cost, and some more. So, another leak of the Xbox Series S, which we haven't talked too much about on this show, happened. And so Microsoft finally announced the long-rumored Xbox Series S, the cheaper, weaker, all-digital alternative to the Series X. And then, not long after that, they said, hey, it's real, here's the price point, here's the release date. And then they said, all right, here's the Xbox Series X release date as well. So both next-gen consoles are coming out November 10th, with pre-orders going up September 22nd, so just about a week away. And then, in a couple months, we'll have this. So less than 2 months now until the system's out. So the Series S is basically a Series X that outputs to 1440p instead of 4K. Its CPU, GPU, RAM numbers are a little bit lower, and then it's roughly half the size for its storage space. And so the Series S will be $299, the Series X will be $499, and then they'll also have an all-access plan, which we'll talk about in a second. There also was a Series V that is leaking online, but I don't think that's real. I don't think Microsoft would announce 3 consoles back-to-back-to-back. Also, why would they call it a Series V? An all-digital Series X is a good idea, but I think we're going to get that later on. So, but I don't think that's coming right away. And so, what are you guys' thoughts then on the price points and the other Xbox? Then, Connor, start with you.
So, first off, finally, oh my gosh! So I was in Cleveland visiting my brother. For those of you who don't know, I'm a twin. Actually, I'm an identical twin. Yeah. So, well, that was for the listeners. Johnny and Luke have known me for years. They've met Tyler on several occasions.
Wait, you guys are twins? I just thought that you just changed your clothes and like quickly shaved or something like that.
That's the, yep. We were quick change artists, quick shave artists, I guess.
Wow.
So I was in Cleveland visiting him, and then on our way back we detoured to Chicago, and I was in the hotel room in Chicago. And I finally saw that. I was like, this has got to be a joke, but no, it was from Xbox, and I saw the actual official Twitter, and I was like, yes, finally.
They tweeted that Series S one at like 3 a.m. They were just like, screw it, we'll just finally release this info.
Yeah, and it was so relieving, and I knew finally we have something huge to talk about. But as far as the Series X, I'm super excited. I am going to be pre-ordering it. That's in 8 days from this recording, and the Series S. I think the Series S is fantastic for casual gamers. It's great for people. Maybe people will get the PS5, but they also want to have Xbox games to play that they can't, and so they can get this as well if they've got some moolah. You can buy 1.5 consoles. Holy crap! As far as Xbox Series V, Luke, you can probably talk a little bit more on why you think it's fake. I just saw the article very casually. I was like, oh, well, let me send this through. Apparently, this is supposed to have been a leak from the Xbox Series V. Codename is Project Edinburgh, and it's supposed to be some sort of in between. Luke, how come you think this is fake? Is it just because it's too good to be true? There's 3 consoles and it's too convenient. Well, it's too early.
I just think it's hard to believe that Microsoft would do 3 consoles and 3 different ones, because apparently the Series V is weaker than the Series X, but it's all digital like the Series S. So I think an all digital Series X isn't a bad idea. I just don't know if right now doing the Series S and the Series X and then the Series V, if that's a good idea, because that's already confusing enough. I get that we've been bagging on Xbox for these names. I mean, it worked for Nintendo with the Game Boy and the DS line, but I just don't know how well this would work if they had a third Xbox. They're already gonna have to have charts up at Walmart and Target and Best Buy that shows you the difference of it, and then throw a third one in there. it's going to be confusing. And so and on top of that too, I don't know, that this image just like looks fake. Like on that image that's showing up online, it doesn't look real to me. Like I think it looks stocked, but we'll see. I don't think we're getting this just yet. I wouldn't be surprised if, in a year or two we do have a Series V or a Series X all digital edition, but not right now.
No. I mean, well, then technically that could be true. Maybe it's just a super early leak. And I'm not arguing for or against. I just saw something, thought it would be interesting to talk about. But it could be like for people now, like people can also get their all digital. There's plenty of people, especially nowadays, that like their all digital and they want the power that can come with the Xbox Series X.
Yeah.
I mean, the Xbox Series S is definitely for casual gamers.
Yeah, because there's so many times like a good example, Call of Duty. That thing, the newest Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, is on sale like once a month, it seems like, on the PlayStation Store, where it's down to $38. And so like if you're okay with having stuff digitally, then might as well go and just do that. But yeah, and the Series S leaked before we even knew what the names of the consoles were. Like we've known about the Series S for about a year and a half now, that was probably coming too. So we'll see. But what about you, Johnny? As someone who I know also isn't planning on getting an Xbox, what do you think about the price point and then the second Xbox?
I think it's a good. I mean, I think it's a good idea. Like you said, I'm not planning on getting it, but I think that having the two options makes for happy customers. We still don't know exactly quite yet what the PlayStation has planned, but as far as the Xbox, I've heard. I mean, Luke and I think, are different in the sense that I prefer physical copies and you prefer digital, right, Luke?
No, I buy physical. I mean, I'll buy some stuff digitally. Like I bought Mario digitally just so it'd be easier for me to not to like try to worry about it coming late or missing out on pre-orders. But I buy a lot of I'm gonna buy Crash physically. I'm getting Call of Duty digitally for the new Call of Duty because of the deal they have for it. But I'm kind of in between.
I know some people that are very strictly digital only because, you don't have to leave the home to get it. As long as you have the storage space, you can just get whatever you want right then and there. And there's some good parts to that, but I prefer physical myself just because then I can like look at all the games on my shelf,
Video games sound better on vinyl.
Okay.
That is true. I do have the Sonic Adventure 2 soundtrack on vinyl, and it sounds wonderful.
I did buy.
That was the most Luke Peterson thing I've ever heard.
I almost bought a Banjo-Kazooie soundtrack on vinyl when Connor and I were living together. But
that actually, I would play the crap out of that one. I'd play the crap out of both of those.
Good. But yeah, as far as the Xbox Series X and S, I think it's great that they have options because if I were to get it, I would still probably drop more money on the X because I do prefer physical. But, it's very consumer friendly when you have options for people who may want a weaker but digital version of the Xbox. So great. Good on them.
Yeah, for sure. And so then one of the other things they're doing to help out consumers is they call it the Xbox All Access Plan. So with it, you pick your system of choice, and you have a 24-month payment that you get the system, 24 months of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, and so it's either $24.99 if you do a Series S or $34.99 if you do a Series X. So it's kind of like what they've done with cell phones nowadays. 5-6 years ago, when you'd go and get a new iPhone or a new Galaxy, if you were eligible for an upgrade, you'd get it for $199, $299, or whatever. And then if you weren't, then you could buy it, but it'd be $900. And so it seems like they're doing something kind of like that, where you can pay monthly for it, like what they have now with phones, where you pay monthly for it instead. So you can get it for $25 a month. You get a Series S and Game Pass Ultimate. And so it's a good idea. I mean, you do end up paying more in the long run, because your $300 Series S then turns into $600 for a Series S, and your $500 Xbox Series X turns into $840. But if you use Game Pass Ultimate for most of your games, then that's that $340, that $300, that's a handful of games that you were going to buy, like let's say Madden, Battlefield, Halo, that you don't have to buy because you have Game Pass Ultimate. So, it's a good idea. I don't know why, like necessarily if I would do something like that, because that is a lot more money. But if someone's cash flow maybe where they can afford maybe a little more of the $24.99 a month instead of a $300 charge, or a $34 instead of a $500 charge, maybe they can do that. So, what do you guys think about the all access plan too?
It's a good plan. It's definitely meant for, they're targeting specific gamers, and it's I think this is more like for Xbox diehards, and this is like the people that are going to play enough games to make it worth it. I personally wouldn't get it. I mean, I'm not going to game enough to make it worth it, but I can also afford an Xbox Series X up front, and it is great that now people who don't have the money have Johnny making a face, and it is really great for people that don't have the cash like right on hand. They have options now. They're going to be paying for it in the long run. They got to be serious gamers, but like if you game enough, it is a pretty good deal actually.
Yeah, and so then I wonder too, it might be a good idea too, where if you like get it and then you decide after like 6 months you don't want to do it. I wonder what the return policy is then. And then if you're just out, like, are you just out the $24.99 you paid for 6 months, or would you have to pay to buy out of it? That'll be one to see once it actually comes out. Question. But yeah, I think it's a good idea. Johnny, what do you think about it too? As you also someone not getting an Xbox.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, I guess it's a good idea because it gives people even more options than before. But I think that like you have to be. I don't know if it's exactly like if it's somebody that has. It's tough because obviously you're paying more in the long run, but you're paying less in the moment. And so I don't know if this is for people who are more strapped for cash or people who just have more cash. But either way, it seems like it's so expensive that you might as well just get it seems to me like you should just get it up front. But then again, I don't know everybody's situation. I don't know how that works for everybody, but I don't know. I mean, it's again good that they have choices, but it just seems like a lot of money to pay for, like a lot of extra money to pay for this subscription basically. So,
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I'm full for it, I guess.
Yeah, because if you buy an Xbox, let's say you went and bought it, and then you bought Game Pass Ultimate, and then you bought a game, you do technically are saving a little bit of money at the start because you're only paying $25 to get it. Because Game Pass is $15 a month for Game Pass Ultimate, or $180 a year. So you have that, which combines Game Pass and Xbox Live Gold. And so like you're getting online play, you're getting all these free games, but that's $180 for that first year. And so when you add those two together, then it does kind of make it worth it for the Series S, but you still end up paying more. So I don't know. It's a decent idea in the long run. Yeah, you're gonna pay a little more, but we'll see. But now we wait on Sony, which actually they are going to be announcing stuff on Wednesday. They announced on over the weekend they're going to be doing a PlayStation 5 showcase at 1 p.m. Pacific on Wednesday the 16th. So just a couple hours after this episode goes live on YouTube and stream in on all the podcast platforms, it'll be up. So we'll have something to talk about next week as well, which is just nice that we have stuff. But hopefully,
I'm not the PlayStation guy, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, hopefully the rumors of a PS5 standard being $500 and the digital PS5 being $400 are true, because I think that's a good price point. But we'll just have to wait and see now till Wednesday. So we can move on to more video game news, because Nintendo announced another game.
What?
It's hard to believe. Nintendo barely announced anything.
They still do that?
I guess. This is the third, fourth if you want to count both Mario games, like the fourth big name game they've announced over the last couple weeks. So we got Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity, which actually in some ways is a prequel to Breath of the Wild, as it's going to tell a lot of the backstory of the 100 years that before Breath of the Wild, and continue the Hyrule Warriors game. So, Johnny, as the Nintendo nerd of the podcast, why don't you briefly talk about like what Hyrule Warriors is for someone who doesn't know, and then what this game will be compared to the original, and how it can help with the Breath of the Wild and the sequel.
So, Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity is a hack and slash strategy game. Strategy. I said strategy. Well, it's a bit of a tragedy. So I guess if you mix that with strategy, I don't know.
It's a strategy, bro.
It's a strategy game, and basically the Hyrule Warriors games are the first one was it came out 5 or 6 years ago on the Wii U, and it was a major fan service to all Zelda fans. It brought in characters and settings from all the major games like Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, and a bunch of others, Wind Waker. And basically it was a fan service game where there wasn't really, I think they've said that it's not canon because it's so crazy, but they basically brought characters from all games together, so you could pretty much play from any of your favorites from the entire series and just beat the crap out of bad guys. And there was a story in there somewhere, but it was kind of like one of those, oh look, Scooby-Doo is crossing over with Batman kind of things. But
hey, Lego Dimensions.
Yeah. So it was there was a story there, but it wasn't, nobody played it for the story. But this time is definitely more story focused, and it's set in a canon universe, and it's set to have, actual story progression, character development, and things that are actually interesting and more in depth than the first Hyrule Warriors. This is not as much fan service as it is just trying to cause world building, which I love, absolutely love.
I think that technically is fan service, it just in a different way.
Yeah, it technically, but it's more telling a story it's more further developing a story that fans and creators wanted to tell, rather than, oh, here's a character that you haven't seen in 20 years but loved it then, so we're going to have him playable now. It's like, this is something that's, deep and serious, and those who have played Breath of the Wild or know anything about Breath of the Wild know that the story, the adventure begins kind of at a depressing part, which means that this game, being a prequel, is going to end in a very depressing part. So, we have a lot of characters that we're going to get to see more of, like the 4 champions, Rivali, Urbosa, Daruk, and Mipha. We got to see them as ghosts, and not because they died of old age, let's just say that, but we got to see them as ghosts in Breath of the Wild, and we got to see memories of them that Link had 100 years prior. But there were 4 of some of the most popular characters that have ever come into a Zelda game before. So to know that they're going to have more of a they're going to be pushed forward a bit more to have more story elements and character development within this game is something that myself and a lot of other people are looking forward to. But like I said, it's going to end on kind of a depressing note because they're all going to be brutally murdered. So,
I mean, that's like what you had with Rogue One. You knew going into Rogue One with Star Wars, oh, they're all going to die because they're going to get the Death Star plans to, and I think that's one thing that as someone who isn't really into Zelda and all that what's nice about this is the world building that this does, like what Star Wars did with some of these anthology films and TV shows and all that, because there's a big gap between each trilogy, or in this case Zelda, there's a big gap between this 100-year war, the 100 years with Calamity, and then this. So I think this will be good because it'll help build the world. So things that with the first Breath of the Wild, you're going to have, okay, this makes more sense of why these are happening. And then also it can set up some world building so when the sequel comes out, it has even more that can go off of. And so I would be surprised if there are things that's going to be in this story that aren't in Breath of the Wild 1 that will show up in the sequel then because of what you see there. So it'll just do that. Plus it ties things over since, we got the announcement of Breath of the Wild's sequel, and we haven't heard anything since then outside of like it's being worked on. So that'll be good too, because this can be something that can kind of hold fans over a little bit while they continue to wait for that sequel to come.
Exactly. It'll be great playing a game where your main character is doomed for failure. It's not an overly used, story or plot device or whatever it's called. And honestly, I was thinking that this was going to be some sort of like a rebuilding of Hyrule, and maybe like the antagonists would be gangs of bad guys survive trying to keep Ganon's dream alive. But I mean, this is a far cooler take, and it's just a better way of milking the story. And honestly, I didn't get the other Hyrule Warriors, but I'm definitely going to be buying this, and I'm definitely going to be playing the shit out of Daruk.
Oh, good. Yeah. Well, I'm surprised because I like Luke said earlier, I am a huge Zelda fan, and I did play a lot of the first Hyrule Warriors, and I knew, obviously playing Breath of the Wild, I knew what the story was like for the 100 years prior, but this kind of game, it fits perfectly with what Hyrule Warriors is, and it never even crossed my mind that this would be a possibility. It never crossed my mind that we would get to play this story, I just figured it was going to be something that we would never really see, but the fact that we get to be in the moment, and you get to play as Daruk, and I get to play as Rivali, the best cocky bird in the entire series. I'm super excited. I'm super looking forward to it, and it's going to be a really good time.
Yeah.
And explain the difference between a Hyrule Warriors game and a regular Breath of the Wild, a regular Zelda title.
Well, Zelda you've played, and so it's a lot of adventuring and traveling and puzzle solving. But this is going to be, hack and slash games are games where you hit the button once around 12 enemies and you've killed them all. So it's going to be like Link is going to be like he's going to grow in popularity or in importance, I guess I should say, as the game goes on, presumably. But it's going to be a lot of just mindless minion killing, basically, and it's going to be strategy. You have to get through all of them, but it's going to be a lot of fun, because I played a little bit, like I said, of the first one, and it was a lot of fun to see the story elements that they were able to put in there, and for this one they're doubling down on it, so I think that's going to be great.
It's basically Dynasty Warriors with Zelda, because they worked with that. And so, I don't know, Connor, how much of gameplay you've seen of Devil May Cry or the most recent the early God of War games.
Seen quite a bit of God of War.
Or Bayonetta. It's like those type of games where, it's weapon-based action games, kind of like a beat 'em up in a way. So, yeah.
Awesome. Good take on that character.
It's one that when, I wasn't really paying attention much to what Nintendo was doing when the first Hyrule Warriors was announced, because it was peak Wii U days. But it was one that it was a smart crossover to do, of having basically a Zelda Dynasty Warriors, because it works for that series, with all the combat. It's a good way to expand it out, introduce Zelda fans to hack and slash. Introduce hack and slash fans, maybe they can get a little more into Zelda because of it. And so it's a good idea. So yeah, it'll be a lot different than what you would have from a regular Zelda game.
And real quick, before we move on, I just want to say it would be so easy to make Zelda games rated M. All you have to do is just add in the blood and the suffering. Other than that, you don't have to change a darn thing.
Yeah, but I don't
they might have enough suffering.
Actually, yeah. Now that you think of it, as soon as those guardians turn on everyone, that's when the body count is really going to rise.
I hope you're prepared. We know what happened, obviously, with 4 champions, but I hope you're prepared, Connor, to be, get your heart just ripped out of your chest and stomped on repeatedly when all of your favorite characters are gonna perish, and it's going to be pretty emotional to see, either it's going to happen all at once or one by one. You're going to be like, oh, I can save him this time. No, you can't. Daruk is dead, Rivali is dead, Urbosa, Mipha, all dead.
I'm going to change the literal plot of this video game. It's going to change just for me.
Just for you, Connor.
But yeah, so that's coming out in November. So we have another Nintendo game to look forward to. So something to play after you finish the 3D All-Stars and the Pikmin 3 port. You'll have this to hold you over until we get the Mario 3D World plus Bowser Fury release. So that's nice. And that's not the only Nintendo news we have. There is a report that Nintendo is now asking developers to make some 4K ready games. So they're letting their third-party developers know that that they shouldn't be making games that are 4K ready, to add to the fuel to the fire of the long rumored new Nintendo Switch model with a better display, the Switch Pro or the Switch X or Switch I or whatever they're going to call the rumored upgraded Switch, so something like that. So, this is all just speculation, but with this thing supposed to be in production and being announced for a Q1 release this upcoming year, it'll be something interesting to keep our eyes on, because they get a little bit stronger platform, 4K. That means games like Call of Duty and Madden become a lot more viable on the Switch, where they don't have to spend time to really dumb them down like they have to do when games like Doom or Mortal Kombat and any of them come over to Switch. So this could be really big for the Switch to keep expanding and growing to get more and more an audience. But I don't know, I don't know how good of an idea this would be, though, too, because either you're going to have to really kind of fraction off the systems, or you're going to have games that are just going to run horrible on the Switch Lite and then okay on the regular Switch and really good on the Switch Pro, or just like Switch Pro only games. So, what do you guys think about this rumor?
I think this only makes it more competitive, as if it needed to be. They seriously are literally made of money, and I think just having options for a higher res Switch is great. Real serious gamers always want more power to their console, and so this would just appeal to them. And it's doing exactly what Xbox and Sony are doing, except I'm not sure if this is going to be meaning they're going to have physical copy and digital copy consoles now, but I don't see a problem with having, a higher res console at all. I just think it makes them more legitimate consoles, and some of those people, I know some people that are like, I would never get a Nintendo Switch. No, the games aren't serious, and it's usually not very good quality, but no, this is just adding to their legitimacy, and I think it's only an upside in my opinion. But I don't know, Johnny, what do you think?
I a lot of what you said, but I think that because we've never seen Nintendo games in any other console, so to have other games on like potentially on the Nintendo Switch would be huge, because it's kind of been like, do you want a PlayStation or an Xbox? You pick one, and then do you want a Nintendo console? Yes or no. So it's like nobody's ever debating between a Switch and a PlayStation or a Switch and an Xbox. But like this could potentially be a game changer. I don't think that anybody who is committed to Xbox or PlayStation the way I am to Nintendo, for example, I don't think this would be enough to make them Nintendo fans. But it certainly would do the opposite, and I think that having this would make Nintendo fans more willing to want to try out other systems, which may not be exactly the best for Nintendo as a company, but it does give them, if they're going to allow for more games, that means it's going to be more buys, and I think that that's good for everybody, really.
Yeah, because that is like it's better with the Switch than what it was with the Wii U. But an issue that we've had with Nintendo really since the Nintendo 64 days is their third-party support has been lacking at times. Like on the Nintendo 64, it was nearly non-existent, and they got it back with a GameCube, and then with the Wii, you had some that kind of jumped out just because the Wii was such a big craze. But outside of a few big names like Call of Duty, once the Wii U came out, they just kind of abandoned it. And with the Switch, outside of like Bethesda really pushing it, there's like EA hasn't been pushing the Switch hard. Like you can get a very, very, very crappy version of FIFA on it, but you can't get Madden, you can't get NHL. There's no Star Wars Battlefront. There's no whatever. So like there's some big name games that aren't on the Switch that are on Xbox, PC, and PlayStation that maybe a higher power Switch could add, and well, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, there's a lot of upsides to it. But the only thing I would be concerned about then too is what will it mean for the other Switches? Because they did put out a Switch Lite a year ago, and what's going to happen then if some of these 4K games can only be played on a Switch Pro and not on a regular Switch or Switch Lite? But that's getting ahead of ourselves and stuff. So we'll just have to wait and see what does come from that. So,
Johnny, would you upgrade?
Probably not. I don't think so. I think if they release this as an option in a similar sense that Xbox is doing now, like for the next console, I would probably go for the more expensive one. But for right now, I don't think I'm going to spend more money on a Switch unless, mine craps out for some reason.
Yeah, because like I said, I just don't know. Like, is it going to be worth it to go back and have a patch that makes Mario Odyssey look, a little sharper, to go out and drop a couple $100, dollars on a new Switch? This thing is really going to have to do a lot to really impress, I think, to get people to upgrade. We may get some that have been holding out on getting a Switch to buy the Pro, or something like that. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how many people that already own a Switch, what this will do to get them to buy a Switch. Especially someone like Johnny, who is now going to be buying a PlayStation. He's going to have that 4K quality stuff. So, if he decides he wants to get, something like the new Star Wars Battlefront game, if they came out with another one, he would be better up buying it on PS5 than the Switch and stuff like that. So, I mean, we'll just have to wait and see what does come from it. But, definitely a rumor to keep our eyes on. So, we can move on to the next Nerd News Now topic. Just wanted to briefly touch on the Ubisoft Forward event they had this past week, where they announced a bunch of stuff. Prince of Persia remake, and they showed off some more for Rainbow Six Siege and blah 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 blah. Just Dance, whatever. The thing that had me very excited though is the Scott Pilgrim vs. the World video game is finally back. The game and the movie just recently had its 10-year anniversary. And the game is a pretty beloved beat 'em up. Like it looks and plays like the classic '90s beat 'em up arcade games. And due to licensing issues, it was delisted from the PlayStation and Xbox stores about 6 years ago. And so for the last 5 or 6 years, fans have been Ubisoft tweeting it at the writer of the Scott Pilgrim graphic novels and trying to get it so we can get this back. And so it's going to come out with the DLC of Knives Chow and Wallace Wells as well. And so this is coming out in the holiday season for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and Stadia. So I just got to figure out which system I'm getting it for between PS4 and Switch. But I am going to be buying this day one because it is awesome. I played the demo back on the PS3 and it was fun, and it has a really fun soundtrack in as well. So I am very excited about this. This was the whole reason why I even wanted to talk about this Ubisoft thing. But was there really anything else in this Ubisoft thing that stood out to you guys, or was it just kind of just like, hey, look, nice to have more gaming news?
Oh, certainly. Phoenix looks really great, but I already have Breath of the Wild, so I'll just stick with that. And it's prequel coming out. Far Cry actually looks very cool. If virtual reality didn't give me splitting migraines, I'd actually consider getting it.
For me, no, there wasn't really anything that caught my interest, but I am happy that I'm happy that you're happy, Luke.
Oh, and maybe I'll give this Prince of Persia one a shot too. I've always heard a lot of good things, especially about Sands of Time, which is the one that even helped inspire the Jake Gyllenhaal movie that we won't have to talk about, but it's a pretty beloved game, so maybe I'll give that one a shot as well when that comes out. But nice to get more video game news, and it was nice for Ubisoft to do this because they announced this when they did their first Ubisoft Forward around when E3 would have been, that they're going to do another one later in the fall, and so this way you can kind of remind yourselves, oh yeah, some of these games are still coming. Here's some more stuff that's coming to get us ready for the holiday season. So. But,
anyone getting Just Dance 21?
I'm not. So, I think we can quickly, as we start to wrap up some of these nerd news now, move on to another one. We got the Call of Duty multiplayer reveal for Black Ops Cold War. So I am very excited about that. I won't go too in depth on it because that you guys don't play Call of Duty, think long and boring. But basically, they announced it on a live stream where they show the trailer and then had a bunch of the COD Pro players and content creators streaming an alpha build of the game together for a few hours. So you got to see the best of the best go against each other. Very sweaty gameplay. But the game looks to basically take what last year's Call of Duty Modern Warfare did, of combining the classic gameplay with some new enhancements and evolutions to really move the series forward without losing its roots, which is good because that was kind of an issue Call of Duty had for a few years where they're trying to evolve it and it didn't feel as much like Call of Duty anymore with all these jetpack jumping and crazy godlike abilities. So game looks fun. It's coming to current gen and next gen, and so I'll be pre-ordering it, especially because they have that bundle that you get the game on current gen and you get it on next gen, and with these rumored PlayStation 5 thing coming out after Call of Duty release, it'd be fun to have a couple week head start on the PS4 version until I get the PS5. So you guys as non Call of Duty fans or a casual, did you guys get enjoyment out of the multiplayer trailer, or did it pique your interest a little more for it, or is it just kind of like, we'll see?
I don't really care that much. I mean, I'm still on the fence if I'm ever gonna pick up my first Call of Duty game or not when I get the PlayStation. But I know so little about it right now that like when new stuff comes out, it's like, oh, okay, that's just more stuff I don't know about, and I'm sure it's new to everybody, but for me, it's not a big deal because everything is new to me. So, we'll see. Maybe like a year or 2 years in, I might pick up my first Call of Duty game, but I don't know. I'm not sure.
I'm in a somewhat similar vein as Johnny. Personally, I'm probably not going to be buying Call of Duty anytime soon, but I love it when I do play it, usually on other people's systems. And I also really, really love watching Call of Duty Let's Plays and stuff. So I don't know why, I just enjoy that. But playing, I'm not very good at it, and I've never been taken by... That's not true. I can't say I've never been taken by their campaign. That's so not true. But most of the time, I'm not too into their campaigns. But honestly, like, this just looks really cool for the fan base, and I'm happy for them.
Yeah, so that'll come out in November as well, right around the same time of Hyrule Warriors. So I'll be getting that, and it'll be fantastic, hopefully. So, got two more Nerd News Now topics then. We got The Walking Dead is officially ending with season 11. So, Walking Dead fans like Johnny, it's sad. But a couple things to look forward to. Season 11 is going to be a supersized season with 24 episodes. It's going to air over 2 years. So, essentially, it's like there's 2 more seasons. And then also Daryl and Carol are also getting a spin-off show that'll start in 2023 as well. But the Walking Dead is starting to come to a close after 11 seasons, and by the time the show ends, about 13 years on the air. So Johnny, as a big Walking Dead fan, how are you feeling about this announcement?
Well, I want to add also that in addition to the Daryl and Carol spin-off series, there's also going to be another series that they've announced called Tales from the Walking Dead, or Tales of the Walking Dead. And it's going to be characters from the original core series in their lives, after the main show has ended. But I'm assuming that old characters will come back too who had died and show some adventures that they'd gone through up until their death. But as for the main show ending, it is a bummer, and I know a lot of people crap on it a lot for various reasons. But when a show has been on the air for 11 seasons, it's got a pretty big importance, at least for me. For it just being, around for so freaking long. So it's going to be a bummer because, I remember my friends and I my friends would come to my house when I was in high school and would come over every Sunday and we'd watch the new episode together. And then they would go home and I would watch it again by myself when they're not talking over the episode. And then I would watch The Talking Dead that would come after. Yeah, like I will say that I really love the show. And some of the most recent season has been great, but some of the seasons before that were a little bit lacking. But overall, I'm kind of bummed because the writers have said multiple times that this is a show that could go for 30 years. And I never really believed that was true, but it's also kind of hard for me to believe that it is coming to an end. I thought that was always some kind of ploy to be like, hey, whoever is, going to be in charge of renewing the show, remember, we have material for 30 more years. But apparently it didn't come to be. Because I don't know if they've officially said the writers were just wanting it to end, but if they are saying that, I really don't believe that. I think it must have been a studio thing because they've made it very clear that they want this to go on for decades. So
yeah, I mean, and I think a good thing when you find out a show is ending beforehand is it does give the writers a chance to wrap things up. You're not gonna they're gonna be able to tie some of these threads, hopefully they're not like some other shows like Lost where they open a bunch of new threads, but they'll be able to have closure for it better than shows that then it getting canceled after season 10 and it ended on a cliffhanger. So that's good. And while the main series is ending, it's not fully ending because of all these spin-offs. And isn't the Fear of the Walking Dead still on too?
Yeah, Fear the Walking Dead is on, and they're making a new show that should be coming later this year, I believe, that is called, I think it's called Walking Dead Beyond. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but there's going to be a premiere of the third one before any of this news stuff comes on. So there's going to be...
Walking Dead fans will still have stuff for years to come, even if the original is not there. So I mean, so that's it's bittersweet because but 11 seasons is still good.
Yeah, it's been a great show, and for anybody that both of you guys who I don't know if you've seen how much you've seen of it, but I would recommend giving it another shot, especially since it's officially coming to an end. But season 2, the farm season, everyone's least favorite, is my favorite season of all time because of all the character development. But anyway, I think that it's going to be great. Despite it leaving, which really sucks, I think that Daryl and Carol getting their own spin-off series is going to be really good because they're kind of the biggest characters in the show anyway. So with them getting their own show, it's kind of like, well, is it really ending because they're still going to be around? So, which is also confirmation that they're not dying. So
maybe
that's another thing.
It could be stuff that with all the time jumps and all that could show, but yeah,
that's true.
But so at least you got something to look forward to as a Walking Dead fan, even though it is bittersweet. So, and then the last nerd news now one we've touched on is so Madden. I don't know how much you guys have paid attention, but Madden 21 has been getting railed for just if you go on Twitter and search, there's so many glitches. There's one where a ball will just bounce on players' helmets for 60 yards, and you can. It's not a polished game at all. And so people have been calling EA to drop the NFL to drop EA from Madden and all this and that. But to try to appease some fans, Madden went in and added Colin Kaepernick in as a free agent quarterback again. So Kaepernick is the player who started kneeling for the national anthem to protest racism and police brutality, which has then started this bevy of a thing about the national anthem that we've been debating for the last 4 years since he did it in 2016. But Colin Kaepernick hasn't played professional football since January 1st, 2017, the last game he played with the 49ers before he was released, and he was essentially been blackballed by the league. There's people that can debate that or not, but he's been blackballed by the league because of what he did with the anthem, and so he got added back into the game, which is the first time since Madden 17, and so he currently sits at an 81 overall rating, which is kind of funny because he's ahead of a lot of...
Is that good or bad?
So he is in the top 15 of all the quarterbacks on the game. So he is ahead of a half of the guys who are starters, so the ones who play for the teams. He's ahead of half of those guys, and there's some guys that since 2016 have played incredible, and he's ahead of them, and he hasn't played football in 4 years almost. And I'm one too that I think that he is a good quarterback, and his he was the one bright spot on the turd that was the 2016 49ers, but I personally don't think this is a good move by EA. This is just them just trying to pander to fans like the NFL using Kaepernick on their Black Lives Matter posts and lift every voice type of thing, where it's just like, look, we were wrong about you, but we're still blackballing you. Like I think it's just a move just to try to get fan reception up, but that's just me.
I was thinking the exact same thing. I mean, not at first though. At first I was like, oh, okay, wow, really cool of you guys to do that. But then I don't know a darn thing about Madden. I've played it. I think I've played it all of 10 times in my entire life. I was doing some research on how hard people were taking shits on this freaking game, and then I was like, no, this is such a cheap and horribly disrespectful way of trying to pander to the fans and shine up the turd that is this game. Holy crap. So I was doing some research. Apparently the new mode, the yard, is getting some praise, but the bugs that were being described really, really need to be worked out.
Well, they haven't touched franchise mode in years. Like it's been basically franchise mode. That was the most glaring, and UI updates. That's where a lot of on top of the glitches, that's where a lot of the issues are coming up, because Matt, really after Ultimate Team kind of took off as you spend your real money to get points to get your virtual trading cards to build your teams. Once that took off, EA was like, ooh, microtransactions, ooh. And so, they haven't really focused on much innovation after that. And then you have all these glitches. Yeah, Madden's been in a rough spot for about 4 or 5 years now. And it's too bad, because some of those Madden games on the PS2 and the early PS3, Xbox 360 were so much fun. Madden 2005 was one of my favorites. I played a crap ton of that. But yeah, this is definitely just them trying to please the fans.
Oh yeah, and using someone who's as popular for what he's speaking about, as Kaepernick, that I think it's just such a disrespectful way of trying to appease certain audience members. The glaring issues have been so bad that hashtag fixed Madden franchise was trending and the most viewed hashtag on Twitter. And it's weird. Despite all of what we've been describing to you guys, sales have actually been slightly up.
Madden was the best-selling game in August. Madden every year. Madden is the best-selling game the month it releases. That's just what it's always been. Because people just go out and casually buy it. It's like Call of Duty. It's like when a Mario game comes out or a Zelda. The game's gonna sell like hotcakes because of the brand. And then games like Mario Odyssey, Breath of the Wild, since they have the quality control behind it, it's like they get the good reception. Where Madden, they just kind of push it out every year, and it's like, here you go, and then fans see all these issues and they point it out. But Johnny, as someone who does not watch football, really more about Kaepernick just because of more of his social justice stance. What do you then think about this as a complete outsider, someone who doesn't play video games, doesn't watch football?
I don't know. It's kind of, it's like you said, it's kind of pandering a little bit, because if he hasn't been in the most recent 3 games or so, right? Yeah,
he hasn't been in 4 Maddens, because he's been out of the league.
Well, I'm one to I believe that if your opinion's changed, then that's valid. And so if people used to say something but now they say something else, then that's a good thing. That's growth. That's what growth is. But if their stance hasn't changed, if their public stance hasn't changed on anything, and they're going to add him in as kind of a way to get more the woke audience, then it seems like it is pandering. But if they do come out and say, we were wrong, if he wants to play, he can, or, we shouldn't have done this, go back on their statements, then it wouldn't be really pandering. It would be actual growth. But until they do that, then it does seem like pandering to me.
Yeah. The NFL did go back and say it, but at the same time, he's not on a team. And then Eric Reed, who is the player who knelt with him first, he set franchise records with the Panthers last season, and he is not on a team right now. Like it's they've gone back but a lot of the reason they went back was because of just the PR nightmare that was coming from this after George Floyd's death. Of if they were trying to say Black Lives Matter, and then Colin Kaepernick was like, hello. There's a lot of things that Kaepernick did in his protesting and his response to things at times that weren't good. He didn't vote in the last election. He did this and did that, but he still was smart about a lot of his other things that happened. And like that's a debate for a whole other subject or a whole other day type of thing. But yeah, as someone who loves the NFL, who has liked Madden over the years, this just definitely seems like them just like, hey, look, we're trying, look at us, like we're blacking out the game for you. Like it's one of those.
So cheap. It leaves a bad taste in your mouth. But I mean, at least they're not trying to gaslight us and say, oh yeah, we were right all along. Like,
yeah,
at least
that's true
they
too.
are
So.
at least trying to pretend like they're growing.
True. So. If you have Madden 21, if you can get through all the bugs, you can do that. Oh, before we move on to that, actually, it's funny. They had the game free to play this weekend with the season kicking off, and they have this story mode where you play in high school and then you play in college, and there's select college teams you can play as before making it to the NFL. It's called Face of the Franchise, and in that mode, you're first a transfer hockey student that just joins the football team. And you become the starting quarterback because the other quarterback has a heart defect that no one knows about somehow. And then he tells you at halftime of a game when you're losing, and then you tell the coach, and that's how you come in. It's just come on. That is just so unbelievable. But, oh well, that just made me laugh when I was playing it over the weekend. But now we can move into the topic of the week. So the coronavirus is not actually done. But with
despite
Nintendo,
what people are saying,
despite people in America thinking it's done, well, they thought it never happened. But with Nintendo finally releasing stuff, with the next gen consoles that are actually on the way, big blockbuster films like Tenet have finally released. We're seeing production resuming on movies like Batman and on TV shows, even if some are getting postponed again because of actors getting the coronavirus. We have now been doing this for about 6 months, and so what have been some of the things that have gotten us through these past 6 months with entertainment being limited? We didn't have sports for a couple months. A lot of our favorite TV shows and movies have been delayed in productions. We saw big movies that have been completely delayed to next year or video on demand only and stuff like that. So so I just let's just kind of talk about some of the things. So one thing I want to ask you guys is, are there any shows or movies that you guys watched during this kind of pandemic that you only really think you guys watched because you had so much free time?
Yeah, for me, for years now, I've had a Netflix queue, and it's always been, I've always been able to get new seasons of a show out, the week that it releases. But I've always had 2 shows on my Netflix queue that have been waiting for me to start them, and I was never ready because of how long they were. And each year that I would wait, obviously a new season would come on, and it would just make it longer and longer. Those 2 shows are Supernatural with 16 seasons, and Grey's Anatomy, also with 16 seasons.
2 super freaking long shows. Oh my gosh, they've
hey,
been around forever.
At least now's the right time to start it because you have so much time.
Yeah,
exactly.
And I, in the past year, last summer, so summer of 2019, I had watched 5 seasons of Supernatural, but I had not picked it up in 12 months. But during this pandemic, I have watched the entirety of Supernatural. I have watched the other 10 seasons following, and the new episodes, there's 7 episodes left until the end of the whole show. It's ending this year. And the next of 7 episodes are coming out in a few weeks, so I'll be ready to finish it. And then Grey's Anatomy is 16 seasons on Netflix, with the 17th premiering later this year as well. And but that has not been canceled or anything. There's no word on it ending anytime soon. But I am currently, as of right now, on season 9 of Grey's Anatomy.
Jesus.
And
Good for you.
let me tell you, it feels good, but it also is like, it's just no other time in my life would I have found would I have been able to do this. I always joke that I have a superpower when it comes to I can slow down time when I'm in front of when I'm watching Netflix, but even my superpowers without the pandemic would not be enough. But because of this, I've gotten through Supernatural. I've watched 15 seasons of two dude bros killing
Demons
monsters,
and monsters,
and I've watched now 9 and counting seasons of just one hospital going through so much shit. Like,
it's like the Degrassi of hospitals.
it is the Degrassi of hospitals. There's been a bomb, there's been an active shooter, there's been an airplane crash, there's been a guy that got hit by a bus, and I am only halfway through the show. So like, it has been an emotional roller coaster. I've gotten invested in characters that are dead now, and I am just it's just a hard time, but it's so worth it. I'm loving it.
Johnny's over here watching 20 years of television.
Yeah, think about it.
One pandemic.
If you
20 years of television.
So you had the first, you said 5 or 6 seasons of Supernatural last summer, but if you would have counted the whole watch through and you did all Grey's, that's over 30 seasons of content just with those 2 shows, plus everything else you would have watched as well. So that's a lot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is just those 2 shows. I've watched a lot more of other stuff, but this is just like, those are the 2, like, the big parts of what I've watched.
The ones you probably wouldn't have watched if it wasn't for the pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, there's been a bunch of other stuff, but this is like the meat of the watching. But
yeah.
Whew, let me tell you, no other time would I be able to watch Grey's or Supernatural because, as good as they are, I would recommend Grey's, but like 1 episode like per week kind of deal. But like Supernatural, honestly, as much as I loved it and as much as a good show it is, if you don't think it's something you're gonna like, you're probably not gonna like it. And so like don't invest 15 years of television to somehow slot into either of yours or any of our listeners' time. Like, just don't do it. I mean,
yeah,
I can give you the
I've heard
recap.
a lot like where especially because they like the first few, there's like a tone shift basically with the first couple seasons and then the rest, like where they just like go
absolutely.
out there and and I mean it worked for them because like it's been on the air and like I think it's another one too where even if it was a little nudge by the network, the show is able to end when it wants to, so that's good at least too. But
yeah.
What about you, Connor? Are there any shows or movies that you really watched over the past 6 months or so that you only was really watching because you was like, I can't go and watch football or I can't go and do this? So
I will start with the stuff that my wife is making me watch. And I started out begrudgingly watching with her. Now I'm actually looking forward to the next episodes. It's Love Island. And
oh, no.
It's such garbage television, but it's so addicting. Like, now I'm actually like all about it, and I genuinely look forward to sitting down and watching hot people being incredibly vain and stupid.
Dude, that's like when Abby and I watched Love is Blind. Like, it's one of those, it's so stupid. It's one of those shows that it's entirely dumb. And all the people on it are stupid. But all the stupid drama they go through, it's like a car crash. You just can't look away.
Exactly. It is truly made for the lowest common denominator, and I seem to be one of them. And then something else that I've been trying to do a lot more is I'm trying to play more video games. So I finished Breath of the Wild, which is so amazing, and that could be an entire episode. But it was just so great. And then I'm trying to get through as much as I can of Fallout New Vegas. It's a great game, and there's been so many Fallout games, like it could be considered bad or could be considered great. I don't even know, but I'm enjoying it, and I've never played a different Fallout game. Also, and this is something I've been just personally trying to do, and something for me is I'm trying to read more. And I've been reading this year more than ever before in my life, voluntarily, that is. And it's been really, really fulfilling to me to be getting through all these books and genuinely enjoying it, and something new to me, retaining a lot of the information, which is I'm terrible about retention, but I think it's because I'm reading more that I'm retaining a lot. So that's been really personally fulfilling to me. What about you, Luke? What are you consuming during this pandemic?
Yeah, that was funny because I was going to ask you what video games you were doing as well. So it's funny, actually, with the reading, I've been the opposite. I was planning on reading more. I was reading a lot of my Console Wars book about Sega and Nintendo a lot at the start of the year. And then I just like slowly stopped reading, and I haven't really read the book in like 6 months. So I need to finish that.
That's so me too. I just drop off and haven't picked up.
But yeah, I mean, I went back. Look, so while the pandemic has affected has me and a lot of the people, because of my job being deemed essential, working at the wheel repair company I work for, I still went to work. And the only thing that really changed was on the weekends, I didn't have the ability to go out and do things. But like Abby and I weren't doing too many things to begin with because of her being so busy with school. So it's not like anything really changed for me. So, I did go when I finally beat Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. I got that right before the pandemic really hit America, right around the time that the Super Bowl happened. And then I played it for a bit, put it down because I was playing Call of Duty and not playing as much video games during the peak of the pandemic. And then I picked that finally back up and beat it. But besides that, I'm trying to think. Abby and I watched some different movies that maybe, like I wouldn't have went out and watched right away. We watched Two Popes, which was, a really good movie. But for me, it's been a lot of the kind of same old. Like, I've seen myself wanting to go back and play some old games again. Like I went back and I played through about half of Portal 2 right around the time that the anniversary of the game's release. And I, have continued to play games like Call of Duty. And I even recently, because of the Mario 3D All-Stars, I've been playing a little more Odyssey again as I get ready for that. But yeah, for me, it hasn't been too many things that I wasn't doing before, just because, like, for me, my life has barely changed over the last 6 months. I just have to wear a mask when I go to the store now. Like, that's really about how much my life has changed.
Have you guys picked up any new skills or anything? Like, have you learned anything new, or did some, I know you guys said that pretty much both of you don't really have more time, but have you taken this as an opportunity to come out of the other side?
So hobby wise, one of them, Abby and I got a dog in COVID, which we were planning on getting a dog eventually, but I think with just how depressing it was being at home and being stuck inside, we figured out that we were able to afford it. So we got Rosa, and she is the best thing ever. But we picked up hiking. We did a few hikes here and there in the first couple of years of our relationship, but it's really been a thing that we've taken a few weeks off, and especially more recently, but for the most part since about May, most Sundays we do a hike where we'll go out to one of the many parks within about 30-40 minutes of Atlanta and go on a nice hike. And we take Rosa with us now, and we have these nice backpacks, include that nice backpack with the water bladder that Connor got me for my birthday, and a lot of fun stuff like that. So that's been nice, kind of away from the screens, away from the technology. It's been a lot of just getting stuff together, and we've done a lot of that. So mine is more hobbies outside of the video game world, and then just growing the podcast. But besides that, I haven't really done.
So Connor's been reading, Luke's been getting out of the house and hiking, and I've watched 30 years of television.
Exactly. Some things never change.
That's not entirely true. Johnny, you are learning a new language.
That's true.
True. Yeah. Talk about your Duolingo you've been doing. That's a good one.
Yeah, so as of today, I'm 160-something days on a streak of learning Spanish. So how it works is you get you have like there's like 5-minute lessons, and if you do like 4 or 5 lessons in a grouping, then they just call it a crown. You get like a little crown. And for the first 100 days or so, I was doing an entire crown every day, so about 20 to 25, maybe 30 minutes of lessons a day. But you only keep your streak going, or you only have to do as much as one lesson. So like 5 to 10 minutes of it each day to get your streak going. And my goal was to keep as many crowns as days I had, like equal. So I was getting 1 crown every day, but then like a month or a month and a half ago, that I kind of fell off of that. And so now I'm just doing 1 lesson every day. So it's only like 5 minutes a day. So it's something, but I'm definitely falling off of it a little bit. I'm keeping my streak up. I'm doing it every single day, but it's not an entire unit. It's just 1 lesson.
Still doing stuff.
Yeah.
I have also been picking up a daily thing as well. After talking about Mario Kart Tour, I've actually been playing a lot of that over the last week.
No.
So I haven't been dropping money into it, so I've been getting everything naturally. But
That's good.
But it's since they release stuff daily, it's been like, okay, now I got to go on there again too. But so we got that. Connor, is there any daily thing you've been doing, even if it's more of a recent thing that you do outside of just your regular check Facebook and comment on IGN posts?
I do, yeah. I check the verse of the day on my Bible app every single day, and I have yet to get to the 365-day mark. I've been working on the 365-day mark for 5 years, but last night I forgot to check it, and so now I was at like 180 something days in a row or something like that, and it fell back down to 1, and so I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm so bad about it.
Jesus will remember this.
Jesus is gonna hold that over. He's Connor.
So if you want to talk about
every day,
some
every
streaks,
single day.
I one of my other daily things I check is Time Hop. So where you link your Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and it'll give you things like, oh, on this day in 2009 when you were 14 years old, your Facebook status is hungry. And it's like, oh God. But they a few years ago they added like a streak timer. So each day you check it, it adds up to it. And so my streak is up to 1,576 days. So I even have a little 4-year badge that shows up that on there. So what's funny is there's times when I'll be like, oh, this is probably gonna be my time hop soon, and then it shows up like, oh, there it is. And and it's fun because there'll be some things I completely forget about. There'll be like memes that I retweeted or saved that like makes me laugh again. And it's just fun to have that going back in time type of thing. That's been a pre-pandemic thing for me.
I used to have Time Hop, but then the Facebook feature just came out with it naturally. So they basically just were like, so I just got rid of my Time Hop a few years ago because they're going to post what you did on this day 10 years ago. And every single day for the past few years, but I'm not seeing as much recently, but I would erase all of my high school posts from 10 years ago.
I've deleted a bunch of cringy stuff. I was simping over an actress on Degrassi, and I was just like, all right.
Who?
Jordan Todesty, the girl who was Adam.
Oh, yeah, she's great.
Yeah, I was like, no, these are weird. I'm deleting these, so a bunch of those tweets are now gone. Thankfully.
Well, mine was like, I make fun of people who are our age now and doing it, but I was definitely guilty of sub-posting when I was in high school. Like, I can't believe somebody would lie to me like this, or like, I wish that someone would, whatever. And I'm just like, 14-year-old Johnny needs to get a fucking grip. Like,
yeah, Johnny, jeez. But yeah,
I've gone through those before, and I've never deleted a single post because everyone started telling me about how this Time Hop app revealed how much of an idiot they were back then, and so I just felt like normal, like, yeah, I was an idiot 14-year-old, like, this
I
shocks
keep most
nobody.
of my stuff, but some of it I'm just like, no, I don't care. My favorite is I'll have some of my random like bad sports takes I'll have, and I'll be like, oof, this was not a good one. But
Oh yeah, it took me back to my very first Facebook post, and that was I'm going to Milwaukee on Thursday. Period. Not exclamation point. I'm going to Milwaukee on Thursday. Period. That nothing else other than that. And then the very next day, I said I can't wait for my Milwaukee trip on Thursday. Period. No exclamation point. No likes. No comments.
yeah, of course. One of my bad ones that I think I still up, but I do not agree with anymore. It was when I saw Transformers 2, and I said it was the best movie ever, and I was just like, ooh.
How you've grown as a nerd.
What was 14-year-old Luke thinking there? But
I have some
Big
that were
robots
like,
being awesome.
like I would post inside jokes to other friends, and since it's been more than 10 years,
you forgot the inside jokes?
I don't remember it. Yeah, it's like I would say that there was something that said like Tiger Tails, and I remember that being an inside joke. Tiger Tails. I don't remember what it means. I don't remember the how we got to that point. But yeah, there was something about Tiger Tails that was like supposed to be really funny for me when I was 12, and at 26, I don't remember what that was, but
Meow.
meow meow.
There's a cat in the background.
Oh, hey, Izzy.
We're almost done,
Say
Emily.
hi
It's
to
okay.
to the world. Emily has not. My wife has not made an official.
My wife.
request.
Hi, Emily.
That's it.
We are almost done with the Legend of Korra, so
I'm gonna
she'll
put-
want to come on and talk about that.
I'm
at some point.
gonna put featuring Emily Raby in the thumbnail now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, but this little tangent was fun. But back to the thing with the pandemic, not when we were 15-year-olds. But one that I've really been thinking about. Abby and I were talking about this with us living in Atlanta, like knowing that this was going to be a 6-month or plus ordeal, and things like maybe things we should have done last fall or things we'd have done different early on. If you would have known going into March when everything was shutting down that this was going to be 6 months at a minimum, are there things you would have done different pre-quarantine? Like if you were planning the trip to go somewhere, would you have done that? Or maybe early on, like would you have waited to start a show, or would you have started something earlier, maybe got a different game? What are some things that you think you would have done different early on or pre-COVID that would have changed how these last 6 months have gone?
I would have not brought beer into the apartment. I actually gained a little bit of weight, and I stopped working out for 3 months straight, and I gained a little bit of weight. But I mean, I fluctuate 10 to 12 pounds quite frequently, all the time. But this time, like it was particularly bad. I think I went on 2 jogs for all of 3 months, and that's really, really bad for me. So I would have tried to not have beer in the apartment at all.
But it's so tasty.
It is so
No, it's not.
He says, drinking the spotted cow right now.
I think I would have wanted to, if I'd known that like the next 6 months and more would have been like we would have been in lockdown, I probably would have wanted to first make sure that I'm COVID free, and second, travel to somewhere that is not hit very hard, because
Not America.
yeah, which is not America.
Everywhere that is not here.
Yeah.
Or China.
Like there's some bad spots, but there's a few good spots too. And I would have definitely wanted to I don't want to make the situation worse myself, so I would want to make sure that I am COVID free, but I would definitely be traveling. But now nobody wants Americans anywhere. So I I can't really
You missed your shot.
I missed my shot. So I can't really do that. But that's what I would be doing for sure.
Yeah, mine, it would have been a lot of like, I would have maybe gone to a few things like, oh, maybe I would have gone to this concert. I would have went to I would have tried to go to a Braves game last fall. You just pick up a cheap ticket, do that, or go to Six Flags. But maybe I could have been a little smart with saving some of the money and maybe got some other games I've been wanting, but. Yeah, luckily with with all this having free time, I was still able to do what I wanted, but not completely stop doing everything else either, which was good. But yeah, it definitely would have. I wish I would have known how long this would have been, so I could have planned some things out better. But oh well, hindsight's always 2020.
Yeah, especially this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God.
But kind of like thinking back to some of the best and the worst then of stuff you've consumed. What would you say has been the best, like video game, movie, TV show, book? What's been the best things then that you've consumed, even if you were already planning on playing or consuming it? Like, what would you say has been the best stuff, and then we can talk about the worst after too.
I think, well, for the best game, oh my God, it's been so little that's even come out for me that I want to say the best game is going to be the 3D All-Stars game. I haven't played it yet, so I can't say that it's been the best yet, but I know I'm going to play the shit out of Sunshine and Galaxy and 64. But yeah,
I love how you say that with a shrug, and 64, I guess.
Well, I 64 I'm not as excited about because I played it a few years ago, and so it's pretty fresh in my mind. But I haven't played Galaxy or Sunshine in forever. And Sunshine, despite being my favorite, it's the one that I've played. Like it's the least recent that I've played. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I think that's going to be the best game of the pandemic. Movies. I told you guys a few months ago I watched an indie film called It's All About Who You Know. Oh, fantastic film. And I highly recommend it to both of you guys. But TV shows, not a lot of stuff has come up. Except for Supernatural and Grey's Anatomy. So, I mean, I watched a lot of other stuff, but nothing that really comes up in my mind.
Probably like 60 years worth of television this pandemic, and not a lot comes to mind.
Well,
what?
I mean, other than that, it's kind of like when people are like, "What's your favorite TV show?" I'm like, I don't know. I watch everything. Like, how am I supposed to know? So, like, the pandemic for TV shows has been like giving me time to watch Grey's and Supernatural, but everything else has just kind of been. I've been watching it like normal. So, pandemic or no, everything else that Netflix has come out with has just been like, oh yeah, this is what I would have watched anyway. But so,
gotcha. What about any music that you've listened to, Johnny, that like really, really sticks out, or more same old, same old?
Oh, Scott Helman released a new album a few weeks ago, and called Non Such Park, and it is emotional. And there's a song that there's two that stuck out to me. One, he made a song called "Afraid of America," so that's great. And he's a Canadian, so he's allowed to say that. But here in America, we're not allowed to say that.
Can't say that in America.
Perfect. What we are above legitimate criticism. Fuck you for thinking otherwise.
The second song he made for his album was called Papa, and it's about his father died. His father died earlier this year, and so he made a song about his father, and he sent it over to an editor who had tapes of his father and him when he and his brother and his mom when they were like years ago, like decades ago when he was really young, and his editor matched them all together and like edited it all together, and then Scott filmed himself for the first time watching this stitched together video of his dad with his own song playing, and he would sing along to the song, but he would obviously bust out in tears, and so that was the music video, was him like watching this video for the first time, and seeing that was very tough because you could tell that it was
that
like,
up on my
why are we being sad here on the podcast?
Watch later playlist.
But it's very good, and it's so good to see artists that are being willing to be that vulnerable. Like, you make a song, and that's one thing. You make a song about a deceased parent, and that's another. But you film yourself watching videos of your deceased parent when they were alive, and you're willing to show all the tears and everything. Ugh, that's just like, that tears your heart out. So I have to, give a shout out to Scott Helman.
Nice.
That sounds like it's gonna be really. I just added that to my watch later
Good.
playlist on YouTube, and I'm gonna watch that. I'm probably gonna cry.
Connor,
you
what
are.
about you then? What have been some of the best things you've consumed? I mean, you talked about books and all that, but like, what's been the best things you've consumed?
So the highlights would have to be King of the Hill and The Office are both shows I've always been meaning to watch. Have never watched it. I'm on the last episode or two of season 7 for King of the Hill, and I just got to season 7, halfway through season 7. Just finished the mid-season finale of season 7 for The Office when Will Ferrell joins. That was emotional watching him leave, and oh my gosh, that was terrible. And Will
Ferrell's character sucks. I do not like Will Ferrell's character in the show. I love Will Ferrell, but I don't.
Yeah,
like
I love Will Ferrell too, and I was super excited. I was like, if anyone could do it, I guess it makes sense they would do Will Ferrell. And they even joke about that his character is hard to pin down. His character is impossible to pin down. I love this moment, hate that other moment, cringe at such and such moment. It is. I do not know what to think about it so far. I have not seen a lot.
Just
but
wait till
it
James
is-
Spader comes. James Spader is incredible in that show.
Well, then
Robert
I will,
California. It's amazing. Yeah, that's a show that where when Michael leaves, there's a little bit of a dip in the end of season 7 and a little bit of season 8, but then a lot of the writers came back for season 9, and it got really strong. It's really good, and that show ends really, really strong.
Good. I'm happy to hear that. A lot of them don't, but this is that. I mean, I do plan on powering through it. I know this is just one of the low moments I have to get through, so I'm gonna do that. Pandemic has been great for those shows. As far as books, the best ones I'm reading right now, that's really hard to pinpoint. I will probably just say one I never ever planned on even caring about, but the production of it for the audiobook, which is cheating, is just so great, is a book called Tarkin, about Grand Moff Tarkin, and it's just kind of how he grew up and how he became so trusted and how he got his title, and it's actually really, really interesting. Luke, if you ever get a chance, buy the audiobook. It's so worth it. And for video games, Breath of the Wild, no questions about it. That's been the best one. But Luke, what about you? What are your
Nice.
highlights for
So-
nerd media?
So even though I do have gripes with it, The Last of Us Part 2 and then Animal Crossing have been the best things that I consume video game wise. As someone who never played Animal Crossing, I definitely got pretty engrossed in it in the first few months. I have barely played it since May. But it's that was still that's my most played Switch game by a long shot. And it's Abby's most played Switch game by even more. So that's been definitely fun. Movie wise, probably the best movie that I watched for the first time over the pandemic would have been Just Mercy. Michael B. Jordan plays Bryan Stevenson, who is a real life defense attorney that helps get a black man on death row free, because it was he was never supposed to be in jail. It's a great movie.
Yeah, that was with Jamie Foxx, right?
Yep. Brie Larson's in it as well. It was one of those that it's based off a true story, and it's one of the most realistic looking movies I've ever seen, because I went back, and after Abby and I will always watch these movies that are based off of true stories. We go when we find the articles of what's different, and there was only a couple small minor things that are different, but for the most part, maybe it's not word for word exact, but there's only a couple artistic liberties that are taken with this movie, which is really cool. And then due to everything that's happened, we watched this prior to everything that happened with George Floyd and just all of the ripple effect of that. But during June, the movie was free on various streaming platforms to help educate the public on systemic racism. And on Juneteenth, this and Black Panther was aired on TBS, TNT, and True TV, where they had a presentation beforehand with Stevenson and Kamala Harris and a bunch of other important figures talking about it. But yeah, it's a really, really good movie, and it's crazy because it took place, like, it's based on a true story that, like, it took place in the late 80s, early 90s, like this when Johnny D. McMillan, who Jamie Foxx plays, gets convicted of murder. It was a murder happened in 86, and he's on death row in 89, and so like, that is just crazy that, like, it's not even that far ago. Besides that TV show and, like, documentary wise too, Abby and I watched The Last Dance, the Michael Jordan documentary series, which is really good. Definitely one that I would recommend to just about anyone, even the non-sports fans, just to see. Like, I mean, one, just all the access that this film crew had for that Bulls team in the last season, and how it kind of, like, it told you the stories of Jordan and everyone around him led to what ended up becoming that last season together. And so that was really good. McMillions, which was one of my recommendations a few episodes ago, and Waco, which was a miniseries that was based off of the Waco siege that happened with the Branch Davidians and the ATF in 1993. The actor who was Tim Riggins in Friday Night Lights played David Koresh, the leader of the group, and it's good. I was definitely a fan of that. Abby made me watch Ozark during the summer too, with season 3 coming out, and let me tell you what, that end of season 3 definitely caught me off guard. I was expecting, I knew going into that there was something that was going to happen to someone, but I was not expecting that to happen.
Jeez, I know, that was just, I watched it when it came out in May, and there was obvious tension building, and when that thing happened at the very last seconds of the show, I was like, okay, that just happened. That's a thing that happened.
Yeah, that's...
Since I've never watched the show, you guys sound like clickbait articles right now. Wow, I can't believe that happened. This happened to whom?
It's crazy. No, yeah,
number 6 will shock you.
Season 1 was really good. Season 3 was good. Season 2 is okay. It's... Luckily, it's only 10-episode seasons. They're about 50 minutes to an hour long episodes. But yeah, there's
Connor,
gonna be.
I think you would love the show.
It's really good.
I've seen season 1, really, really good. And then I don't know why, for some reason, the way they portrayed people from Missouri really, really bothered me.
I mean, it's so accurate though, man.
It's too accurate.
There are probably maybe 10 or 11 of those types of people out there in Missouri. I don't know why for some reason it just rubbed me the wrong way, and I put it down, never picked it back up. But that was years ago, and I am no longer bothered by it, so I don't know why I haven't picked it up.
Yeah, I'd go rewatch season 1.
Jason Bateman is a fantastic actor in the show.
Yeah, I'd go rewatch season 1. Get through season 2, but yeah, season 3 is pretty crazy. But that's definitely been a good one too. Yeah, there's been a lot of good stuff I've been able to consume, luckily, where, like, there hasn't been too many things I would consider the worst. But I guess going into that, what has been some of the worst things you guys have consumed? Like, what are some movies that once you finish, or a TV show you try to watch, and you're just like, oh my gosh, this is so bad?
Ooh. That's tough to say, because I don't watch anything that I'm not interested in watching in the first place. Same with video games. No, that's wrong. The Crash Insane trilogy. I've picked it up and rage quit again.
It is very hard. I tried to pick it back up again too over the summer, and I was not happy because I can't beat some of those levels still.
It bothered me so much because I love Crash, and I felt like such a noob, and I felt like, why do I? There was actually a moment where I was like so angry. I told myself, why the hell am I on a nerd podcast? And then I haven't picked it up since.
Yeah, It's rough. I'm stuck on one of the bridge levels on Crash 1. Ugh. Yeah. Like I'm the levels I'm stuck on Crash 2 and 3. I can beat. I just need to go and play them. But yeah, like the Crash 1 just makes me so mad. I pick it up and then just get a bunch of rage.
If I'm already a hothead, if I wasn't a hothead, if I was like an even keeled dude all the time, I would probably have finished all of Crash Insane Trilogy because I'd be like finding the fun in being challenged. But I'm a hothead, so it really gets to me.
Yeah. Well, I can at least say the worst thing that I watched was, sorry, Johnny, Santa Clarita Diet or whatever the show was called.
Wow. All right.
I did not like that at all.
Actually, if that's the worst thing you watched, you haven't had that.
I
bad
thought
of a time. Yes,
that
it's
was
not-
really bad though. I did not like that at all.
Oof.
Remember, I was not a fan of it during the thing, but I got more enjoyment out of the Donkey Kong recommendation that Johnny had a couple weeks ago. but besides that, yeah, like luckily for me, yeah, I haven't had too many terrible things. Because like Animal Crossing was a ton of fun, and I have gripes to The Last of Us, but like there's still so many good things that are in The Last of Us 2 that even if the story is a letdown, everything else about the game was still like on point that I was still fine with it. So
In the same vein, for me, I want to say probably Paper Mario Origami King. It was not a bad game. It was an enjoyable game. But it's like it's the kind of game that like when you're halfway through, like or when I was halfway through, I was like, you know what? I'm never gonna play this again, so I might as well enjoy it now, because like there was something about it where I was just like, this is such an okay game, and it was, and it was just like if this is the best that Nintendo has to offer for this year, then it is a very bad year.
luckily they were wrong with that.
Well, obviously we know that that's not true now, but like just at the time I was like, you know what, like when you know a game is you're never going to pick it up again, it's just kind of a bit of a bummer, because like, you know, there's not a lot of times when, or it's not super often when you're super excited to, you know, you're like, oh, I want to see what it's like the second time, but even less, it's even less often it's you just know it's a one and done, and it's gonna gather dust on the shelf after that for the rest of your life probably, and that's what that game is for me. So
Oftenly Brothers.
yes, oftenly. Did I say oftenly?
No, I just.
Oh, okay.
You said often, and then I thought of
Oh.
oftenly.
You just blasted me back to college, and like I forgot all about that.
Shout out
so-
to our
oh,
friend Dubs.
Johnny, don't forget Bob Dylan's "Bringing It All Back Home" album.
Ooh, I tried to forget.
You consumed that, and you were you very politely, for my feelings, said, "I'm not vibing with this."
Good. Yeah,
I'm not
that was-
getting a vibe check with this.
Yeah, there was not much vibage going on. Yeah.
Yeah, luckily
sorry.
it seems like all of us consumed good stuff, and I mean, like, yeah, we were smart with a lot of the stuff. Like, there wasn't too many things that we probably wouldn't have not consumed. And if things like Paper Mario being just okay is one of the worst, and you know, forgetting about a Bob Dylan album, and like with me with like two episodes of a sitcom that I just didn't enjoy, like that's better than nothing. You know, I didn't like go in and get disappointed by, you know, I didn't get to go into disappointed with Mulan like people who actually have watched it have, or any of that. So that's good at least. But yeah, I mean, like, yeah, luckily, you know, like, yeah, there's definitely things I think all of us would have done differently, both good and bad. But luckily with us, we've been smart with this pandemic, and so as smart as you can be, I guess. And have been able to consume a lot of stuff. So that's nice. You know, let us know in the comments down below, or, you know, on social media, what were the best things you guys consume, what are the worst things you guys consume, you know, and all that. But now it's time to move on into recommendations. So since Michael was on last week, thanks again, Michael. He gave a recommendation, and then I gave a recommendation. So both of us gave demos on the Switch. Michael's was the demo for Katamari, which was originally a PlayStation 2 game from the mid 2000s, and it, as as anyone who listened to last week's episode know, I was very excited about this one because I was a big fan of was a big fan of a game that I never really got to play because of just how goofy the original Katamari game is, and they put it on the Switch a couple years ago, and so he recommended that one. So let's do that one first before we go into mine. So first off, what were your guys' thoughts then on this demo?
So I just a dramatic moment, dramatic pause. It took me a sec to figure out the controls.
Yeah, that is definitely one that it takes a second to figure out because it doesn't, at least the demo doesn't show you.
Exactly. So I actually ended up failing. I didn't get the start at 10 centimeters. To put it as, as intelligently and delicately as possible, I did not understand the point. And it was so short of a demo. I actually ended up texting Luke. Was that it?
Yeah, it definitely is a quick one, but like it makes you get the point of the game. Like it gets bigger as like you can look at it as like a screenshot where like you're rolling up buildings at the end of the game and all that.
Gotcha.
But
I'd never heard of this game, so that's why I kind of it left a lot to be desired.
Yeah. For I mentioned last week too. Like to age myself, I first heard about this game back on G4 Tech TV back in the early 2000s, and so that was always one that like that's how I found out about this game.
Luke is no longer the strapping young lad he once was.
Nope, I am old. I get tired at 9:33 at night.
Ooh, yikes. Yeah, for me, it was a lot of the same. I was kind of, though, I was a little happy that it was kind of short because the controls took me too long to figure out right away. And, but then once I beat the first level, I did beat it. I was kind of like, just like, I don't really, it wasn't for me. It just, yeah, I like Connor said, like, what was the point, like, I just didn't. It just wasn't really my thing.
Your point is to please the gods, the god of all cosmos.
Right?
Of
yes.
course. Yeah.
But I don't know, I like it, but also because I always like goofy things like this. One of the actually, I'll have to go double check. I can't remember if I played it during the pandemic or right before. There's a game called Donut County, which is kind of similar to this, where you're a black hole, and so you start off as this little tiny hole that you're only sucking up things like cinder blocks and traffic cones, and then as you get more, the hole gets bigger to where at the end of the levels you're sucking up entire homes and cars and all that, and it's a goofy game that you can beat in like 2 hours. But it just was like a fun time waster. Like it's, and that's like what this one is too. It's just like a goofy game and just like all the randomness. Like, oh yes, let me go and as this big ball roll up a can of a can of pops, or a thumbtack or all the other just random things that they have. And at the end, and it says, oh, your Katamari was as big as 15 hamburgers or like all the other random things they'd say. Is like, oh, okay, that's cool. But
when you put it in that context, I see the appeal. I absolutely do. I don't play a lot of games like that, so, hence why I wasn't as impressed with this. But if for the people who do play that game, it would absolutely satisfy. And it would be on point for that. It's just not my thing. That's all.
Yeah, I love goofy stuff like that, like Goat Simulator as well, and all these other just like stupid games. So, then what would you guys give a rating then for this?
I would give it 3 out of 10. King of all cosmos.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez, just breaking Michael's heart.
Sorry, Michael. We'll always have Mario Sunshine.
Michael, I didn't get to meet you, but I'm sure when I am going to meet you, you're probably going to be super chill. I gotta give this a 4 out of 10 unappeased gods. But, I'm sure you'll be recommending something in the future that I will like.
Well, I will be a little more on the positive side. I will give it a 8.5 rats ramming into me while I'm trying to build my Katamari. Go away, rats, out of 10. So that was Michael's then. And so then my demo was also a weird one as well with Hypnospace Outlaw, which is a demo on the Switch. It's a game that was first announced coming to consoles during the last Nintendo Indie showcase they had about a month ago, and I was just like, oh my gosh, what is this? Because the game is essentially a alternate reality late 90s internet simulator. So you're playing on basically AOL in 1999, and so the game is just goofy as all hell. And so I went and downloaded the demo and played it, and I was like, I love this. So it is a game that I am going to be purchasing myself at some point soon. I just got to figure out when exactly I want to buy it. But what are your guys' thoughts then on Hypnospace Outlaw?
I was not a big fan of this one either. I spent I spent like too much time not knowing where I was going, and I kept getting back to the same web page over and over and over again. I was trying to leave it, but like it was a work video that I've at my job pre-pandemic I was a part of, and it was like very outdated and old, and actually reminds me a lot. Like this game reminded me a lot of it. So I felt like I was at work again, because everything that they were talking about at the beginning of the game was like, oh, and you're welcome to your job, and this is things that you need to consider. And I'm like, wow, am I getting paid for this? Because I better be, because I don't want to be here otherwise. And maybe I didn't get far enough to really enjoy it, but I just did not. This was not for me.
With Johnny, I really hated this at first. I shouldn't say hate. Strongly disliked this at first. But then I put it down. I went on YouTube, and because I really genuinely thought I didn't get to the content yet. Like I wasn't finding the gameplay, because the tutorial was like a little bit longer than I expected. Then I saw other YouTubers playing it, and I realized what it was. I went back in with the knowledge of what it was as an internet simulator. And I actually it ended up really growing on me. I ended up having a pretty good time with it. I never, ever would have played this game if you hadn't told me. And then it was kind of fun. It not that I grew up on the internet in like in the 90s. I never knew what it was like, but it was just like they actually created worlds in there, and it was really, really cool. They really actually went deep with this video game. A lot deeper than I expected, and I was pleasantly surprised when I went in knowing what to expect. If that being said, I totally see where Johnny was coming from. I actually I texted Johnny when I was playing this, and I was like, "This is so boring." But then I went in with the correct mindset and found the enjoyment in it. I can see why people would not like this, though. I can absolutely see why
they're wrong.
Bored to tears with this. Opinions can be right and wrong, but like I think people really need to know what they're getting into in order to find the competition in this game. Like you have to go and find the stuff, and you bang the gavel and stuff. But it was like, if you can have fun on your way, like on your path. Like with listening to actual songs they wrote and recorded specifically for this game. You'll have a great time. I was pleasantly surprised. This was a really goofy game and a good pick.
I think what I love about it is like how I was pretty young in the early AOL days, but like it just felt like you were back in this early internet age there's a whole bunch of customization you can do with your cursors and your screensavers, and you can just like completely litter your entire like home screen with just random stuff. But I think one of my favorites is how you have to go to, like, is that level. I mean, the first like case how you have to go to Good Time Valley, and it's like such a boomer page. Like everything about this.
That was one of my favorites that I posted because it made me laugh so hard because I was just like, Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Yeah, like that thing was very boomery, and like I've seen stuff like later on in the game too, and there's just some weird stuff that goes on. Like there's this like guy that's like, oh, I can help you, and it's actually just like this horrible virus that just gets on your game. And the part that made me laugh the most though is when you're doing the tutorial and you have the voice and it's just like, click here to do this, and then there's a different voice that's peeking and he's just like, the button, and it's like, oh Jesus.
Yes.
Like that was just like what. And the avatar person thing is so nightmare fuel, and I love it. But yeah, it's a goofy game, and it's one that I know that like if I buy it, I'm gonna play it. And I'm like, this is so fucking stupid, but like that's why I liked it. But what's cool too is apparently the more you play it, the more things change. You can actually see it with because you can only play the first case with the Gumshoe Gooper. If you go and once you copyright a bunch of the Gumshoe Goopers, Abby's page, like she has something about like she's mad because you're copyright striking all these pictures that her students drew, and so as the thing goes on, like people get more and more mad at you, or like you see as like the time evolves, the world changes and evolves as well. So like just all the world building they did, and like all the web pages they built, and just how like accurate it feels to like late 90s internet is just insane. So what would you guys then give this as a rating then?
I am gonna give it. Sorry, Luke. I'm gonna give it a 2.5.
Wow.
Inescapable 90s internet pages out of 10.
You really chose this was an acquired taste, I feel, with this one, Luke, but because of that I'm gonna rate it a little bit higher because it really like forced me to try something I never would have even considered otherwise. And so I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10 hot butter ice cream wraps.
Wow, that is very high.
There's a web page in here about hot butter ice cream, and they rap over it, and it was so ridiculous I had to make a note of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff in there.
Yeah, it was. Unfortunately, I think with both of them, I think it was kind of just a bit of a weaker time with both games. But
no.
Yeah. Well, yes, yes, I do think that. But
Johnny, have you ever considered that you're just sus?
Huh, got him.
I don't know what that means.
So unfortunately, then Johnny didn't like it, and I'm sad.
Yeah.
Connor liked one and kind of figured out the appeal of the other, but didn't fully like it. So I am sad. I'm gonna go cry now. But that means, Connor, it is now your turn for a recommendation. So what do you got for us this week?
This one, I actually have a list of recommendations now, and I was really debating what I should do. This one is going to be one of my favorite comedy movies ever, and it's so it was released July 28th, 1993, and it's from Mel Brooks, Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Alrighty, what streaming platforms can we consume this on there, old Connor?
You can find Robin Hood Men in Tights on
Netflix.
Hulu. And
okay.
What? Hulu.
Okay, good.
And it's actually Dave Chappelle's film debut.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I have seen parts of it, and I've seen a lot of Mel Brooks films, and they are wonderfully stupid, and I love it. So I'm sure I'll be watching this and then want to go watch Spaceballs and Young Frankenstein after it as well. But, all right. Perfect. So we are watching Robin Hood Men in Tights, and we will talk about what we think about this movie that's going to be goofy. And then, perfect. So I was surprised. I was expecting another album that was older than Connor by 30 years. But But yeah, so before we do wrap up, we do also want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. This podcast is sponsored by Anchor, which is the easiest way to make a podcast. That's what we use to post our podcast on Spotify and iTunes and every platform that the podcast is on that's not YouTube. So, visit anchor.fm to help start your own podcast. It's super easy to work with. You can record directly from their website or their app. You can record your own audio like we do and then upload it. Do whatever you need to do, and you can get your own podcast going where you talk about whatever dumb random thing you want to talk about as well, just like we do every week. So on top of that too, this podcast is also sponsored by ByLightFixtures.com. Visit ByLightFixtures.com for a trusted source for quality lighting products for your business or home. And so thank you to both of them for sponsoring this podcast. It's surprising that people even want to sponsor our podcast, but we definitely take it. So that will wrap up episode 30 of Rocket Talks. So 30 and then some technically when you add everything together, but 30 official episodes, which is nice. It's nice that the pandemic didn't kill this podcast, it could have. So
it tried though.
Yeah, it definitely
tried.
Definitely was really rough for a few weeks, but now we made it through, and we have a bevy of content we can talk about. Especially with the PS5 news supposed to get later this week, the Mario 3D All-Stars release this week. So there's a lot that we have already planned for the next few weeks that we can do. So and
big surprises to come.
Yes,
for listeners.
Teasing surprises that could be coming. So definitely you're going to want to listen to the podcast for the next few weeks and a few months as these we talk about all these new nerdy things and surprises get announced. And so be sure to do that, but also be sure to follow us on Twitter and on Facebook and on Twitch and consume all of us as much as you can.
And thank you for staying with us for 30 episodes and then some. It's been really great that even though it's not the largest of audiences, we still appreciate that we get plays and that you guys are willing to listen to us. Just a bunch of friends hanging out, nerding out. So thank you very much for being with us for these 30 official episodes.
Yes. So that will wrap up episode 30. Bye-bye for now.